Welcome to another episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio from Tejas Financial Group. Tejas Financial is a company that specializes in helping retirees and pre-retirees build purposeful retirement plans. Custom plans that not only help clients steward their treasure, but their time and talent as well. They believe that if you're taken care of financially, you go even further to make the family, community, and kingdom impact you truly desire to make, which is the ultimate purpose of wealth. If you'd like to set up a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with one of their financial advisors, give them a call at 222-4236. You can request a meeting at tejasfinancial.com or simply stop by their office on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer. All right, welcome back to the show. Jared Sebesta joining you on another episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio. Sure hope you're having a great day. We thank you so much for tuning in today. We've got Matt Hoekstra in the studio here today. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Jared.
So, no surprise. Well, obviously this is not news, but we just got done with a very emotional election season. It's hard to believe it's just been a week ago that we had the election. Today, we're going to talk about how your emotions come into play with your finances, with planning for your retirement, perhaps investing and how that comes into play. But let's not get into like politics here. But at the end of the day, this was a really, really emotional time for a lot of people, both before and after the election.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it building for the last year. Last 4 years, really.
Yeah. Last 8.
Right, and both campaigns, both candidates did a phenomenal job of just appealing to emotion. It was, if this person gets in, then your freedoms and your rights go away, and
they're both saying that.
They were both saying that.
Yeah.
And really, it was on stuff that means the most to people, a lot of people, which is, their physical health, their financial health, their families, things like that.
Healthcare, finances.
All that stuff was going to be in complete disarray if one candidate got in over the other. So, they did a really good job of appealing to emotion.
We talked about how your emotions come into play. Certainly nothing new that we haven't already discussed here. How should people take this? Maybe that's the $1 million question. Whether you're happy about the results, because it was so emotionally driven that I think people really fall into one of two camps. You're either like super ecstatic, or you feel like you got like super gut punch. There's very little middle. I from what I have seen and heard online. How should both sides look at this from an investing and a planning perspective?
Yeah, I think the big thing, I've got my background back in the day is psychology, mm-hmm. and in my training in my earlier days when I was getting my master's degree, there was a book that was out, and it was talking about stress and decisions, and I wish I had it right in front of me, but there was statistics on the amount of information that your brain can physically absorb or give out when you're at a high level of stress. Sure. And it's near zero. And so, during these emotional times, these elections and maybe market volatility, things like that, the way to handle that is to come up with a plan before we get into those scenarios. Sure. Come up with a plan before Trump gets in, or before Kamala got in, or before, the markets go down, or, they go up, or, you know what I mean? Have a plan before you get into an argument with your wife or your kids, or, things like that. Because when you're in the heat of the battle, when you're in that election night and your heart's racing and things are going and your candidate's in the lead or not in the lead, that's not the time to be making the decisions.
Yeah.
Physically, we're far less capable of doing that during those times.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I saw a meme recently. It wasn't a meme. It was actually just a quote from some influencer or author. But he was asked, "What's the best piece of advice that you can give entrepreneurs or high achievers or somebody trying to be successful?" And he said, "The ability to control emotion." Which I hadn't seen that before. It kind of made me pause for a second, but after I kind of thought about it, I'm like, man, that really is true. I think that whether you're planning for retirement or have a family or trying to raise kids, you're going to be You're going to be tempted to get dysregulated emotionally. And the times when I've been there, I'm never making really good decisions in that moment.
Well, I think if you look back at even COVID,
Yeah.
the mindsets that we had, the emotions that were right under the surface during that time, the thoughts of the future, the thoughts of, you know what I mean, all of that stuff coming together.
Yeah.
Think about making major life decisions when you're that stressed out.
Yeah.
I think we can all go back during that time and think and see, like, I wish I would have done that differently. I wish I would have approached that differently. And that, I mean, most of us can see that on a weekly basis.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You get into an argument with, you know, your boss or a coworker or your wife or your kids, and you say things or you do things, and then you walk back and you take a step back, and a week later you're like, yeah, I could have done that differently. And that's really emotion driving those decisions and driving our behavior. And I think that's, you know, one of the biggest piece of advice is that, you know, I guess a valuable piece of advice would be, when you're in those decisions, when you're in those positions of stress, the best decision you can make is not making a decision. And not making those choices. Not to just bury your head in the sand, but to be able to remove yourself from the stress and the catalyst, and just say, all right, we you know, if we didn't have a plan coming into this, we need to come up with one here soon.
We've got about a minute left. How do you go through that planning process for people that are not clients of yours or of Tejas Financial? Like, what does it look like? Do you play out scenarios? Do you ask specific questions on how to get the heartbeat on people's emotions? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so I think the key is to kind of run through some of those scenarios and stress test a plan, right? To get everybody's information and say, essentially the three questions of what do I have, what do I need, and what do I do with the rest, right? And so when we're doing that, that helps us with the ability to know how much risk are we willing to take? What do we do with these, with somebody's scenario on income and planning, you know, estate planning, things like that. And we come up with that and say, okay, during COVID, how did you feel? When it felt like the world was coming to an end and the markets were going down, how did that impact you? Well, you know, if we run the plan and we find out that we can take on less risk, are you okay giving up some of the bigger fluctuations and some of the ups in order to, you know, to not have that stress? And so, a big piece of that is just really coming up with somebody's profile, their risk profile and their horizon, their time horizon for the investment, and just matching those two things together and saying, okay, how does this play out? And how does this play out in times of extreme stress? And so we're not having to make these decisions real time to say, should I get in? Should I get out? We have that plan already in place.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Well, if you want to get that planning process started so you do not let your emotions drive your decisions when it comes to your finances and your retirement, give Tejas Financial Group a call right now. Their number is 222-4236. You can request a meeting online at tejasfinancial.com, and you're always welcome to stop by their office, which is located on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer. And just a reminder before I let you go, the third annual Lakes Area Paddle Battle Pickleball Tournament is coming up Saturday, December 14th. All proceeds go to Youth for Christ. This is a fun day filled with pickleball, prizes, and more, sponsored by Tejas Financial Group and Wilmer Parks and Rec. Again, all proceeds go to Youth for Christ of West Central Minnesota. If you'd like to sign up or get more information, visit the Tejas Financial Group Facebook page to get registered today. I'm Jared Sebesta, joining you in this episode of Time, Talent, Treasure Radio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Securities offered through Avantax Investment Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Avantax Advisory Services. Insurance services offered through an Avantax affiliated insurance agency.